Hello and welcome everybody. Today's session is about adding words. Now you know this week has been about what words you say to yourself. So the first day of the 3 days that we add are about ritual words. And those words were about what are you learning? What am I learning? The next was about subtracting words. And the third one today is about adding words. And it's about adding those words when you're not quite sure about how you're moving forward in your business or in your life. So first, I'll give you a superb example of someone who does this phenomenally, adding words. And it's my son who's been learning the cello for a year. He's 6 years old, and he does this really well. So here's a story about him. And then I'll show you my 5 notes for today on the instrument I'm holding behind me. So my son, he's 6 years old, and I'm afraid he's coming in one more time. Excuse me for a moment. Hello. We're starting again. This is what live TV is about. So we're starting again. Here's the story. When we're interested in adding something new, somebody that I know who does this really well is my son, who's been studying cello for a year. He's 6 years old. And for example, yesterday, his first grade class over Zoom, they're studying different instruments, and the teacher asked him to play something on the cello. And what do you think he would play on the cello? He knows 17 songs really well, and he knows 13 songs at a very beginning level. They're just not as great. He needs to read the music. He hasn't learned all the different ways of playing it. What do you think a 6-year-old would play? He played the hardest song he knows, where he needs to look at the music, where he's not totally sure of the notes, and he says something like, I'm working on this. I'm working on this. I haven't figured this out, all of this yet. And he plays it and he's looking at the music, but it's not one of his so-called book recital pieces. It's not one that he knows from beginning to end, phenomenally top-notch. That's the first 17. But he'll do one of the next 13 that he's just in the progress of. That's real confidence with learning. That's adding words to your head like, I haven't got it yet. I haven't got it yet. It's still a work in progress. So let me show you cello-wise my work in progress before telling you all the research behind this and before giving you 4 different types of words that you can use as words that you can add into your language as you're working on a business goal. That's really important, or a life goal. All right, here we go. Can you see me? Yes, you can. I'm calling this the Cello Series, as you remember, because I'm a super beginner in cello. This is the end of my 2nd week of doing it. So here's what you already have seen me do and why I'm putting this into the adding words section. I'm speaking pretty loudly to make sure the microphone can hear me. You've seen me do something super basic. I thought that was already very cool because that includes a bow hold, that includes holding a note, one note. Then you've seen me, and I think this is such a cool learning for all of us in terms of practice and repetition. The person who I follow on the internet is Kason Brown. I also work with a teacher. I've had 2 lessons with her. So Kason Brown says, catapult your hands 80 to 90 times. You've heard me say this. What that means is I'm going to keep my thumb on the back of the cello and do this. And my goal, you may see those little stickers I've put for myself here. My goal is to make sure my fingers land on the stickers without me ever looking there. I'm getting better. I don't know if I've done 80 or 90. I've probably done around that. So that's one of the things. But today, the cello equivalent of your business goal is sometimes you may need to change up the rhythm. You can't play. You can't just play long bow all the time. So these are the first 5 notes of a song that you know. Sorry, second try. I knew this was gonna happen, but hey, this is what I've committed to sharing with you because it's new for me. Here we go. It's a song you know. It's Go Tell Aunt Rhody. So what I'm doing here, and what it took my 6-year-old son a long time to show me. Thanks, I appreciate it, Brian. I'll put your comment up in a second. What it took my son a while to show me is I'm going from a full bow to half bows. Super small distinction, but for me it's huge. Huge distinction. So let me show you the research now, and let me put my friend Brian's comment up. So Brian says, I love how your 6-year-old son confidently declared, I'm working on this, without qualifying or making excuses that we adults say. Totally, totally, totally true. Exactly, right? Yes. To all of what you just said, yes. So what are some other words that we can use to do exactly that? Some of these you will have heard of, and some of these you will not have heard of. I'm going to adjust my camera, excuse me for a moment, because going from sitting to standing is a little bit of an adjustment. Here are some words you've probably already used when you're thinking about that word in work in progress, and here are some that you may not have. Yet, not bad for, journey, and minimal. Yet, let's start with yet. You know, it's really funny when I'm typing for other people, for my guests, I will always type them up, but for myself, I don't always type them up, but here, I'll give them to you. So yet, not bad for. What else did I say? Journey and minimal. Okay, so let's touch these one by one. Oh, the last one is my favorite, actually. You have all likely heard of Carol Dweck. And if you haven't, go and pick up her book, Mindset. It's superb. And what Carol Dweck, who is a researcher at Stanford University, has found over decades of amazing research is that we work better when we focus on what our effort is, as opposed to what our ability is. And she calls this mindset that she's named the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. The growth mindset is all about, I'm growing on cello. Yes, I've just finished week 2 of trying to do long, short, short, long, long as the bow length, but I'm working on it. I have a growth mindset in the sense that I know I'm applying effort and I'm trying it and I'm experimenting. I love my friend Catherine's word, experimenting, just experimenting with things. So this is my growth mindset. My fixed mindset would be, I will only show you the things that I'm amazing at on cello. And I have to tell you, honestly and truthfully, in my mind, there are 2 different Senias weighing on me all the time. I was born in Russia and we immigrated to America when I was 6 years old. And I have someone in my family who's a phenomenal music teacher. It's my aunt, Svetlana. She teaches phenomenal piano. Just top notch. And there is something considered the Russian music school, which is about creating excellence in performance. So I always have these 2 Senias battle within me, which is play the thing that you're excellent at or play the thing that you're working on. So I have made a commitment in this cello series that as we approach our business goals and our life goals, that we're experimenting, that we're making mistakes. And so you saw I had version 1 and version 2 of the first 5 notes of Go Tell Aunt Rhody. So Carol Dweck figured out that we can focus on growth mindset instead of our fixed mindset about how we can change things. You know what? I'm going to talk to you while I'm going to get something out for my daughter. She needs a paper clip, so I'll be right back. Hang out here for a moment. I'll be right back. Live broadcasting. Welcome to live broadcasting. The thing that I've just explained to you is growth mindset. That's the yet part of this. I'll get to the next one soon. I love Carol Dweck's work, and you will love it too. If you haven't, you probably have seen it, especially if your children are going to school these days. It's fairly popular with teachers to start to praise children in this way of, I see you making effort. I see you making progress, because then we're not thinking about only showing off what we're amazing at, but we're actually thinking about how do we improve. Now, the main thing that I want to tell you when I was reading this research in Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, or in her academic papers, is the problem with always demonstrating mastery and always. So if I didn't show you any cello until a year from now, when I actually could play, hopefully, Minuet No. 2 by Bach, which is piece 17 in the first book, if I waited that long, yes, I might be good, and you might have a better audio experience. You might have a better experience for your ear, but I would not show you the mess ups. I would not show you even, to use one of our executive coaching words, the vulnerabilities. I would not show you that this is actually, this can be frustrating for me, this can be worrisome, this can be exciting, this could be a trial. I wouldn't be able to show you all that, which is exactly what I believe needs to happen when you're going after a huge business goal or a huge life goal. So that's the yet part of of Carol Dweck's work and of the 4 possible words that you can add into your language. What she found with fixed mindset is people wouldn't try harder. So if I waited for this 1 year to show off the one amazing piece and didn't show you these funny things like that catapult that I was telling you about, or full bow versus half bow, if I didn't show you those things, I would stymie my own progress by being just not even trying until I was good enough to show you. And by that time, I might have quit cello. Lots of things could happen. So that's why I try effort versus, hey, showing off what you can do. That's yet. The next thing that I love, and actually my son does this as well, is saying not bad for a, not bad for a 6-year-old, not bad for somebody. And for this, I'll reference George Vaillant's book. Now, a lot of you know George Vaillant's work with the Harvard adult study, the Grant study, where they followed lots of people who graduated from Harvard. And they also added the term and women study. So they added a lot of people, after all, to the sample, and they followed them over time as they grew and as they aged as well down the road. One of the best stories from those books by George Vaillant is this man who went out on the tennis court and had been an amazing tennis player in his 20s, 30s. He went out on the tennis court, played with a friend, and came off the tennis court and said, not bad for an 80-year-old. And George Vaillant uses this as an example of this is healthy. If he came off the court and said, I don't hit as well as I used to when I was 20, that's not so healthy. The idea is, how do we develop to our goals? So not bad for a 2-week cello player that I could switch the bow length and sometimes make excellent music for you. Not bad for a, because you're still developing. So that's a really healthy word to add as you're moving towards your goals. Yet, I'm not there yet. I haven't learned that yet. And not bad for a. 2 other words. Let's go to journey. A lot of times when you think of your work as a journey versus a destination, you've heard this and you've heard about enjoying the journey. But what I want to tell you about it is when you focus on, hey, this is what I'm doing step by step, you actually focus on that. You're able to be more present. You're not constantly living in the future and in the life of evaluation. Did I hit this or did I not hit this? So there's something, whatever language you want to do, to say, hey, this is the first step of 1,000 steps, or this is, for me, this is week 2. It makes it feel like it's still going and there's much more to go for. And this is really, it's progress, it's incremental. I'll use a phrase that I really love that a friend of mine in college said to me. We were just walking from one place to another and we were talking, I think, about exercise, working out. And she said, my body is a work in progress. And we're in our 20s at the time. I think that's so healthy. Yes, we're a work in progress. That's so healthy. So we've got yet, not bad for the journey. And then the last one is actually my favorite way that we can speak to ourselves, which is minimal and minimal goals. I encourage you at this point to tell me in the comments, what's your takeaway? Which of these new language skills can you add as you're going for a big business goal or a big life goal? Can you add yet, not bad for, something about the journey for you, the trek, the walking. Trek is a term my friends Margaret Greenberg and Gina Greenlee are using recently. Minimal. I love minimal goals. When I was reading about goals research when I was in my PhD program, I ended up studying what people are stuck on and how to get out of stuck situations. But I read a lot about goals and about habits and love that literature. In goals, one of the most surprising things to me was the distinction between maximal goals and minimal goals. And I can't tell you how often I use these with executives that I work with. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm coaching a senior vice president of sales at a large company. And we've been talking about, let's say hers. We've been talking about her goals for the coming quarter and what's important in terms of the team and what's important in terms of her own quota and goals. So we've been talking about all this. And she says, and in addition to her work goals, she also has set some physical health goals, like I'm going to run this marathon, I'm going to do this. And she says, I'm going to run for 5 miles every day. And she hasn't been running. So let's say she hasn't been running, but she says, I'm going to run 5 miles every day. As a coach, one of my jobs is to tell her, hey, what you've just explained to me, what you've just told me is a maximal goal. I'm going to hit this and I'm going to hit it all the time. What would be the minimal goal version of that? So of course you would ask, what's a minimal goal? But every client does, because I didn't know it either. A minimal goal is something that you know you'll be able to hit every single day. A lot of the clients that I work with, we actually set their minimal goal to be something like 10 push-ups, 30 crunches, and the plank held for 20 seconds in the morning. That's a minimal goal. They know they can meet that every single day of the week, Saturday, Sunday, all the time. What's a minimal goal that you can meet with something that's important for you? Let's say it's a back burner project or a huge business goal. What's a minimal goal? Sometimes we put things off and just don't go towards those goals because it seems so big. But what is that minimal goal? That's a way that we can speak to ourselves. If we think we're going to bite off more than we can chew, we can say, hey, Senia, hold on. What's your minimal goal? And I've had wonderful conversations about this with my friend Valerie Burton, who's the bestseller of many, many books. I'll link to some after this broadcast. And she often writes in her writing that she's a recovering procrastinator. And that's the problem. When you set these big maximal goals, I'm going to run 5 miles every day. I'm going to do this. That start date for when you starts to creep back later and later. Or you don't do one day and you suddenly feel, oh, what happened? So what's a minimal goal? This is for, I think we might be all, did I say recovering procrastinator? No, recovering perfectionist. I hope I used the right term. We are probably all recovering perfectionists. We are probably all recovering perfectionists. So how could we use some of these terms, including the minimal goal, in speaking to ourselves? Let me give an example that one of you is writing. One of you is writing here. I'll summarize and then I'll give the example. What are your takeaways so far? Here are 4 ways that you can add words back into your life as you're going after a big goal. You can say, hey, I haven't hit that yet. Hey, this is not bad for a 2-week cello player. I'm starting week 3 soon today. This is a journey that I'm on. I'm at this point in this journey. And my minimal goal is that I practice for some minutes every day, or that I hit a certain number of these catapults. So I have a minimal goal. I am using a cello experiment with you because it's something that's new for me and something that you definitely can see that I'm working on. It applies just as strongly to, I'm working on a series of children's books. What's the minimal goal I can do there? I'm developing a project with our other coaches for a way that we can serve clients better, especially on the job front. What's a minimal goal that we can all hit there every day, every week? So these are really relevant words that can sit in the back of your head and come out instead of those words that we subtracted the last time we spoke in Cello Series number 5. You may remember that we subtracted words, swear words at ourselves, speaking not kindly to ourselves. We subtracted those. We got rid of those. So now I'm giving you words to replace those with. What words are you using with yourself? Let me share with you what one of you, thank you so much for this comment, Brian, what one of you is saying. Brian is saying, my minimal goal for my writing practice is 500 words a day. That's it. That's right. That's a minimal goal. You're not saying 500 edited words. You're not saying 500 of the best words you've ever written. 500 words a day. It's something you can hit. Thank you so much for joining me today. I invite you to come back Monday to Friday. We're here 11 a.m. to 11:20 a.m. Pacific. And as you go into the weekend, consider in what ways you might play around with saying, hey, not yet, not bad for, this is a journey, and here are some minimal goals that I'm hitting, but I'm hitting them consistently. Delightful being with you today. See you again. We're here Monday to Friday, 11 to 11:20 a.m. Pacific. Good weekend, everyone.